Hello Infiniteers, and welcome back for another episode of Toy Box Tutorials. Today we are going to look at the Lunar Outpost Rocket Engine. This is a toy that is unlocked in the Marvel Battlegrounds playset, and you do that by completing challenge number 13 as Hulkbuster. And after you do that, you can find this toy here in the Gameplay Toys drawer. This is a fun toy. And you can do a lot of different things with it. But let's start by looking at this toy's behaviors. And I'm going to place one right over here on this conveyor, right along the edge, about here. And we'll put down a trigger area that we can use to check out the behaviors. And let's move this over just a little bit. About here. Alright, so on the trigger area, we will do a new logic connection when entered by player any. Now let's come over to the rocket engine and look at the behaviors, and there are 3 of them. The first one is fire the rocket engine. This turns it on, and this toy will do its blast of fire for about 4 or 5 seconds before it turns itself off. You do have the option, however, of turning it off early with this trigger signal, or this behavior. So if you only want it to run for a second or 2, you could hook up a time delayer for that, and then connect the time delayer to this behavior on the toy to turn it off early. There's no property on here to govern how long this will fire. So it's 4 or 5 seconds, or it's less if you want to use a time delayer or some other toy to turn it off early. And then you have a behavior called reset. And what this is for, this rocket engine is destructible, which means that players or even enemies can attack this toy and destroy it. This is similar to other breakables, which I don't know if we've talked about too much yet, but you can use this to restore the toy after it's been destroyed. And there's an exception to this that I'll show you in a little bit. But for right now, let's fire the rocket engine and see what happens. Alright, so here we come. Now you can kind of hear there's a little bit of a sound effect there for it. It's pretty faint. And depending on what else is going on in the level, you may or may not hear that. So what you might consider doing is hooking up our trigger area here with a new logic connection when entered by player any, and hooking that up to the sound effects toy over here, which we put down in an earlier episode. And if you look under the general category and scroll down, you will find that there is a rocket blast-off sound. And this is basically the rocket blast, but much louder. So now if we come over here, you can't miss that. So that can be helpful. All right. Next, let's look at the logic menu. There are 5 trigger signals this will broadcast. The first 2 are kind of obvious, turned on and turned off. This is when the rocket engine's turned on, and if you use the logic or just let it go for the full 4 or 5 seconds, when it turns itself off, it'll broadcast this signal. Broken is broadcast when this toy is destroyed, again either by a player or an enemy. Reset is broadcast when this toy is restored. And then there's a trigger signal here called picked up. And you can actually pick up this toy and carry it around with you. And I think that's pretty interesting. Before we look at that though, one thing I will point out is it's probably better to use the rocket engine turned on trigger signal from that to invoke the sound effect generator to play that sound. Versus using the trigger area to do that. And the reason I say that is because in case you provide multiple ways to turn off or to turn on the rocket, maybe it's turned on with a trigger area, maybe it's turned on through proximity. If you hook it up from the rocket engine instead of the trigger area, then it won't matter what triggers the rocket engine. It'll always go off. So there you go. And by the way, it only hurts Mickey. It doesn't kill him. And there's no way to really make this one lethal, unlike the Droid Factory ones we looked at last time, because there's nothing here about the player getting injured or hit. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. Alright, but I mentioned you can pick this toy up, so let's come over here to our mid-level battle arena, and let's put one down that we can play with. And I'm going to put another one down up here. And I think if this demo works, you'll see why I need that. But we'll put down this. And let me put down a button over here. So the first thing I want you to notice is you can attack this toy and destroy it, okay? But if you go back in the editor, you'll see it's still there. There's a bounding box for it. So we could hook this button up, for example, with a new logic connection when pressed to reset this toy. And when we do, and we push the button, that puts it back. Now, Mickey does not have the super strength ability, so he does not have the ability to pick this up. However, if we put down somebody like Mr. Incredible, he does have that ability.
What do you say we head out and find ourselves another adventure?
And we walk up to it, you'll notice he has the option to pick this up. And when he does, he can carry this around with him. And you can imagine all kinds of fun you can have with this. Now, one thing I want to point out, when you go to set this down, you can use the A key or you can use the trigger to throw it. I'm just going to use the A key to set this down and watch what happens. It vanishes, all right? But it's still here. So you would think, oh, I can just reset it. Oh, it did this time. Sometimes that does not work, and that's why I wanted to show you that. If you set this down, sometimes the reset capability will not restore this toy. And so just be aware of that. It works reliably. If you smash this thing, I can restore it. But sometimes if you set it down or throw it to get rid of it so you're not carrying it around, it'll kind of destroy itself even though it just vanishes. And sometimes when that happens, the button will not restore it. So just be aware of that. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is what you can do with this thing. And let's put down a few enemies so we can experiment with it here. And we'll put down a few Zerg bots. Here they come. Now let me get out of their way because I don't want them to come and get me. Notice they're attacking the toy. And they just destroyed it. So not only can players destroy that, but enemies can too. And that's why I put down the rocket engine, the second rocket engine up here. Because in a level like this, that's probably where you're going to want to put it. And we need some way to turn it on. And since we can't push buttons when we pick that up, let's use this trigger. And only when the player steps on it. And we'll fire the rocket engine. And let's go have some fun. So we'll pick it up. Hop down here. Whoa! Ah, well, that's an interesting bug. It wouldn't let me pick that up. So when I got hit, it automatically dropped it, and it put it in kind of a weird position there where I couldn't pick it up. So that's something else to be aware of. But you can see that was pretty powerful. And I thought that was pretty neat. Let's do a little bit more experimenting with this, because I think that's kind of cool. We'll hook up our button. Let's see if we can reset this. If it'll allow me to do that. There we go. All right. And what I'm curious about is how a stronger enemy will fare against that rocket engine. And I'm thinking about somebody like the Rebuker or the Wampa. We'll put down the Rebuker. Because he takes a lot of damage to get rid of him. All right, let's let him get away from that switch a little bit first. He is no match for this toy. And I think this could be a lot of fun because you can put some super strong enemies, a bunch of them out here, and put down this rocket engine and just go to town and wipe them all out. And I think that is really fun. And if we throw this, that destroyed it. But I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about with the Lunar Outpost Rocket Engine. And the fact that you can turn it on and off at will with logic, you can pick it up and carry it around with you, or you can destroy it, means that you can do a lot of different things with this toy and set up all kinds of different scenarios. You could put a corridor with a ton of rocket engines in it, and the only way to get through it is to destroy those things. And just let your imagination run wild. There's so many things you can do. Next time, we're going to take a look at the Lunar Outpost Gantry Claw, which is another toy you can unlock in the Marvel Battlegrounds playset, and we will use it to build another obstacle along our conveyor belt. Before you go, leave a comment and let me know what you think of the rocket engine and what kinds of things you've done with it, and let me know if this tutorial was helpful for you. If so, please be sure to give it a like and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Thank you for watching and have a great weekend.